I was sitting at a table with 400 people in the room. My name was about to appear on a 30-foot screen, and my brother was 12 feet away. He did not know I was there. He had made sure I would not be. 5 days before Thanksgiving, he asked my mother to uninvite me from the family holiday. Not because I had done anything wrong, because I sanded wood for a living, because his girlfriend came from money, because he needed the table to look a certain way. And I let him have that. I stayed home. I worked. But tonight was not Thanksgiving. Tonight was different. Here is what this story is really about. It is about what happens when your own family decides your work does not count, not because you failed, because you did not fail in the way they expected you to. If you have ever built something real and watched the people closest to you look right past it, you already know how this feels. Subscribe. This story has one of the most satisfying endings I have ever told. I do not want you to miss it. My name is Maya. I run a custom furniture and woodworking studio in the Pacific Northwest. As of last year, I have 16 full-time employees. We cleared $200,000 in revenue. I have been doing this for 10 years. I started at 22 with a woodworking apprenticeship and zero apologies about it. My studio is housed in a converted warehouse on the edge of the Arts District. The floors are raw concrete. The air always smells like cedar and walnut oil. We do residential builds, commercial installs, and custom showroom pieces for design firms. Our showroom projects run high. The most recent one came in at $400,000. That is the number that matters later. My brother Julian is 34. He works in tech sales. He makes $80,000 a year. Every Sunday dinner, my parents treated that number like it was written in gold. He had the title, he had the office, he had the LinkedIn profile photo in a blazer. I had sawdust on my forearms and calluses that never fully softened. To them, that told the whole story. It did not. What my family did not know was that I had stopped needing their approval around year 3. That was when I landed my first commercial contract. A restaurant group, 42 custom dining chairs, and 6 reclaimed oak tables. That job paid more than Julian made in 4 months. I did not tell them. I stopped reporting my numbers to people who had already decided what those numbers meant. By year 7, I had 8 employees. By year 9, 12. I built a client list that included 3 architecture firms, 2 hotel groups, and a string of high-end residential designers across 4 states. One of those designers was a consultant named Elena. She found me through a referral. She hired me for the $400,000 showroom project. She was sharp, exacting, and expensive. She knew what quality looked like. She approved every piece I submitted. She signed off on every invoice. What nobody in that room knew was that Elena was also the woman my brother had brought home to impress my family. The same woman he had used as a reason to erase me from Thanksgiving. This did not start with one phone call. This had been building for 10 years. When I was 22, I told my family I was choosing the apprenticeship over a liberal arts degree. My mother looked at me the way people look at a wrong answer. She said, "The Hargrove girl just passed the bar. She's doing corporate litigation." I nodded. I packed my tools. Julian was worse. He called it playing with sticks. Not once. Consistently. For years. At birthday dinners, at holidays. At family calls I barely made time for. "How is the stick business?" Laughed like it was a new joke every time. At one Sunday dinner, I mentioned I had just closed a deal worth $60,000 for a single residential install. Julian said, "Cute. That is like my quarterly bonus." My father changed the subject. My mother refilled her glass. I drove home and sat in my workshop until midnight. My jaw stayed tight the entire drive. Then came the Thanksgiving call. My mother phoned 5 days before the holiday. Her voice was careful, practiced. She explained that Julian's girlfriend came from a prominent family, that her background was refined, that having a carpenter at the table might make things uncomfortable. That word, carpenter. She said it gently, like it was a compliment with an edge. I looked down at my hands. There was dried wood glue on my left palm. I said, "Okay." I hung up. Julian texted me on Thanksgiving Day. "Happy Thanksgiving." No context, no apology, no punctuation that suggested he had thought about it for more than 4 seconds. I did not reply. I was alone in my workshop that evening. Hand sanding a walnut dining table. 4 inches of solid wood, 8 feet long, the kind of piece that takes weeks. I was not angry. That surprised me. I ran my hand across the grain. I thought about the word carpenter. I thought about how they said it, and I felt something settle in my chest that I had not felt in years. I was done explaining myself. I was done shrinking. I'd built something real, and I did not need anyone at that table to see it. What I did not know was that they were about to. Comment trigger. I need to pause here. Has anyone ever treated your work like it was invisible? Like what you built did not count because it did not look the way they expected? Tell me in the comments. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I received an invitation. The Northwest Artisans and Builders Gala. Annual, prestigious. 400 attendees. I had been nominated for Artisan of the Year. My studio director, Priya, had submitted the application in September without telling me. She sent me the nomination file with one line. "You were going to say no. I did not ask." She was right. I probably would have. I accepted. I ordered a tailored emerald suit, single button, no lapel pin, clean. I confirmed my table. I reviewed the program schedule. I did not call my parents. I did not mention it to Julian. I went about my week. Client calls, a site visit in Portland, payroll. The night before the gala, I pressed the suit and laid it on the chair. I went to bed at 10. They had no idea what was coming. The gala was held at the convention center downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, round tables draped in white linen, a stage at the far end with a screen that spanned 30 feet across. I arrived early, signed in, found my table near the front. I knew the room. I had installed 3 of the oak partition walls along the east corridor 2 years ago. The venue director had shaken my hand and said it was the best build they had commissioned. I ordered sparkling water, talked with 2 other finalists, a ceramicist from Tacoma, a metal worker from Bend. I was not nervous. I noticed Julian's table at the Tech West sponsor section around 7:15. He was in a gray suit. My father was next to him laughing at something. My mother had a wine glass in her hand. And Elena was seated directly across from Julian. She had not looked up yet. I turned back to my table. The ceramicist was describing a kiln installation that had gone wrong in the best possible way. I listened. I laughed. The lights dimmed at 8. The presenters started with the finalists. Each name came with a slide, a project photo, revenue figures, team size. When my name came up, the slide filled the 30-foot screen. Maya Chen, studio founder. 16 employees. $200,000 in annual revenue. Northwest Artisans and Builders Gala finalist. Below that, a photo of the $400,000 showroom project. Every detail exactly as Elena had approved it. I did not look at their table. I did not need to. I heard a chair shift. The presenter read the winner, my name again. I stood, walked to the stage, shook hands, held the award. The photographer asked me to face the room. I faced the room. The applause was solid and warm. I looked straight ahead. On my way back to my seat, I walked the center aisle. Julian's table was to my right. My father's jaw had dropped. My mother's wine glass had stopped midway to her lips. Elena was very still. She was looking at the program in her hand, then at the screen, then at Julian. I walked past without slowing. I sat down. The ceramicist from Tacoma put her hand on my arm and said, "Well done." I said, "Thank you." I meant it. In the lobby afterward, I heard Elena's voice. She was not quiet. She asked Julian why he had described his sister as someone who did odd jobs. She said she had paid that sister more money than Julian made in 3 years. She said she did not understand what he had been trying to hide. I did not stop. I kept moving toward the exit. My parents found me near the coat check. My mother said she had no idea. My father started talking about always believing in me. I looked at both of them. I said, "You never asked what I was building. You decided. There's a difference." I picked up my coat. I left alone. The air outside was cold and clear. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment. I thought about the walnut table in my workshop, still waiting to be finished. I thought about how it felt to run my hand across the grain in the dark on Thanksgiving night. That feeling and the feeling I had walking out of the gala were not so different. Both times I was exactly who I had been all along. They just finally had to see it. The thing nobody tells you is this: you were never the problem. You were the answer they refused to look at. Second comment trigger, tell me something. If this had been you, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have given them one more chance? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story right now, send it to them. They will know why. If this story gave you that feeling, that specific satisfaction of watching the truth finally land, subscribe, because I have more. Stories about people who were written off and counted out, who then made sure that was the last mistake anyone made. See you in the next one.